Good morning students. Welcome to biology online class. In last class we have started the living organisms, characteristics and habitats. In last session we have discussed about do all organisms need food? Yes, all living things are need food. Plants are prepared food by the process of photosynthesis. Then plants are taking carbon dioxide from atmospheric air, water from the soil. In the presence of sunlight, they prepare food is known as photosynthesis. Then animals. Animals are depend on plants for food. Okay. Then all animals show growth. Yes, all living things are show growth. Even plants are growing lifelong, but animals are growing certain period of the time. After it will stop growth of the animals. Many plants are reproduced through their seeds. Okay, next. Another one is all organisms are respire. Yes, all organisms are respire. Without respire, we will die. Even plants also respire. Animals also respire. Different organisms having different types of respiratory organs. For example, what is mean by respiration? Taking in of oxygen and releasing out of carbon dioxide is known as respiration. Respiration is one of the process. It is one of the process. Without respiration, we can't live. We will die. Then all organisms are same respiratory organs? No. Different organisms have different types of respiratory organs. For example, humans. Humans have respiratory organs are lungs. Earthworm, respiratory organ is skin or moist skin. Frog, frog respiratory organ is skin and lungs. Tadpole, tadpole respiratory organs are gills. Even fish, fish respiratory organs are gills. It is taking oxygen and releasing carbon dioxide. Once we respire, the oxygen is entering into the cells, it burns and releasing some energy. This energy is utilizing our body and doing different types of activities. Human respiration is similar to animal also. Even cat, buffalo, dog, these respiratory organs or lungs is similar to human respiratory organs. Okay, even plants. Plants are respired through their leaves. Leaves are present a small pores are known as stomata. With the help of stomata, they are taking oxygen, releasing carbon dioxide. This process is known as respiration. Plants are done by the respiration day and night also. Okay, then plants, their spores, small pores or holes are known as stomata. With the help of stomata, they are taking carbon dioxide and releasing oxygen in the presence of sunlight. This process is known as photosynthesis. In the photosynthesis, they are preparing food materials. They are preparing food materials. Okay. Next, another one is all organisms show respond to stimuli. Yes. All living things are shown to respond to stimulus. Okay. The changes around us to make them to respond, that make them to respond is called stimuli. Changes in our surroundings to make them respond is known as stimuli. For example, if you see sunlight, sunlight is fall on the eyes is known as stimulus. Immediately closing eyelids is known as response. Even cockroach light is fall on the cockroach is known as stimulus. Immediately hiding the dark places is known as response. You know different types of examples are stimulus and response. Even plants also show stimulus to response. Yes, plants also is showing stimulus to response. Then plants like Mimosa pudica. This plant is otherwise known as touch me not plant. It is otherwise known as touch me not plant. This plant leaves are touching. Immediately it will be folded. Immediately it will be folded. Once we are touching the leaf is known as stimulus. It is daytime. Sunflowers are open at night time. For example, jasmine and atrabotis means sampenga. They are open at night time. They are releasing sweet smell. Some flowers are open at daytime. For example, hibiscus. Hibiscus is open at daytime. Then some of the plants is flowers are moving according to sunlight. For example, sunflower. Sunflower is moving along with according to sunlight. This is all are examples of stimulus and response. Stimulus and response. Okay. Let us now we will discuss about the topic is living organisms and excretion. Living organisms and excretion. What is the meaning of excretion? Excretion means the process of getting rid of wastes by organisms is known as excretion. The process of getting rid of wastes by organism is known as excretion. Okay, the process of getting rid of wastes by organism is known as excretion. Excretion also one of the important process. Even plants and animals also sending out the wastes. Then plants. Even plants also secreting their wastes. For example, rubber plant is secreting latex. It is using to prepare the tires and tubes. It is using by buses, auto, bicycles, etc. Then neem plant. Neem plant is secreting gums. The gums are using to binding the books and bind the papers, and different ways we are using the gums. Okay. In some of the plants are secreting by latex, resins, and their tannins also. Okay. Next, some of the plants are stored wastes in different parts of the plant. Okay. Some plants store wastes in different parts of the plant. Okay. But these wastes are not harm to their plant. These wastes are not harm to their plant. For example, then plants are preparing food. Excess amount of food is stored in different parts of the plant. Potato store their food in the stem, modified stem. Carrot store food in their roots. Okay. Next, cabbage. Cabbage store their food in their leaves. Okay. Next, apple is store their food in fruit. Okay. Different plants are store their food in different parts of the plant. They are known as edible parts of the plant also. Okay. There are living organisms and excretion. All living organisms are done the excretion. Even plants also sending out wastes. The process of getting rid of wastes by organism is known as excretion. Then plants. Plants are secreting their wastes. For example, rubber plant is secreting latex, and neem plant is secreting their gums, and acacia, this plant is secreting their resins, even tannins. This is all are wastes are secreting by plants. In some plants store the wastes in different parts, but these wastes are not harm to their plant. In some plants wastes are stored in different ways food in roots. Cabbage stored food in their leaves. Apple is stored food in the form of fruit. Okay, different plants are stored food in their different parts of the plant. Next, all organisms are reproduced. Yes, all organisms are reproduce. All living organisms are reproduce. Even plants and animals also reproduce. Plants and animals also reproduce. Plants. Plants are reproduced through seeds. Plants are reproduced through seeds. Plants are reproduced through seeds. Means many plants. Means most of the plants are reproduced through seeds. For example, groundnut, mustard, and coconut. These many types of plants reproduce through seeds. Some plants are reproduced their vegetative parts like roots, stems, leaves, and some plants are reproduced by different methods. They are cutting, layering, and grafting also. Okay, then animals also reproduce. Animals also reproduce. Animals are reproduced in different ways. Reproduce in different ways. For example, birds. Birds are reproduced by laying eggs. Birds are reproduced by lays eggs. Okay, what is mean by reproduction? The organisms giving their own kind of species. The organisms giving their own kind of species is known as reproduction. Then, a parent plant is giving to their young one. For example, mango plant, the seed is planted in the soil, develop into mango plant. Means they are increasing their own species. Reproduction is helping to increase in their own species. Okay. Then birds. Birds are reproduced by laying eggs. Animals. Animals are reproduced giving directly to their young ones. Giving to their young ones. Okay. You know already Christian young one is known as squab, then dog young one is known as pup, then human also giving their young ones. Okay, then different animals are giving their own species. Birds are reproduced by laying eggs. Animals are reproduced. Animals are reproduced giving to their young ones. It is reproduction is very important, increasing their own species from one generation to another generation. Next, plants. Plants like potato. Potato bud. Bud is giving rise to young one. Bud is giving rise to young one. Then potato is present a small ice. Then part of the ice is cut into small pieces and planted in the soil. Planted in the soil. In some days after it develop into new plant. It develop into new plant. New potato plant. Next another one is neem. Neem plant is reproduced through the seeds. Reproduced through the seeds. Next, the plants are reproduction is different ways. Some are reproduce through the seeds, and some are reproduce their vegetative parts like leaves, stems, and roots also. These are known as vegetative parts. That is, the process is known as vegetative propagation. The plants are reproduce their vegetative parts like leaves, roots, stem to develop into young ones is known as vegetative propagation. Okay, this is about all living organisms are reproduced. Plants are reproduced through seeds. Some plants are reproduce their vegetative parts like leaves, roots, and stems. Animals are reproduced in different ways. Birds are reproduced by lays eggs. Then animals are reproduced giving to their young ones. For example, potato plant like potato, it is bud is developed into young one. Plant like potato, bud is giving to young one. It is about the all living organisms are